Mr. Francis Lui, thank you so much for agreeing to speak with the readers and the viewers of Inside Asian Gaming. It's been quite a few years since we've spoken, and we've been through the pandemic in that time, a crazy time that required a lot of leadership from you. How would you describe your leadership style?
Well, as you know, I've been, this is my 43rd year working, and I have seen cycles, right? Back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, in the millennium. So we have always gone through cycles. So somehow I feel that the key to, long-term sustainable success would be to make sure that you have a very strong team of people around yourself who share the same vision, who have the same passion to be working with you through good times and bad. And I think I'm proud to say that, all these years in Galaxy, which I have been sort of like involved in 20 years' time, I have built out a team which are loyal to the company, passionate about, building the best properties in Macau. And we just do more or less when the time is not with us. When the times go back up again, like we do see this year, we were just basically dashing forward and try to accomplish more. So in terms of leadership, I would say, first of all, would be respect, teamwork, recognition, and passion.
Over the years, Galaxy has exhibited a very conservative fiscal approach, and in fact has been subject sometimes to criticism for underutilising its capital, not paying dividends, that kind of thing. But then the pandemic came along, and in many respects, Galaxy had the last laugh. While the other companies had to borrow billions of dollars to stay afloat, Galaxy had that money sitting in the bank. Could you tell me a little about what's guided that approach for you over the past 2 decades?
I like to say that we like to take care of the company cash like almost as it's mine, all right? We need to spend the money carefully. We do not rush and make decisions and be speculative. All right. I think if we do business, we want to make sure that it is going to be for the long term and sustainable. This way, I think this is how we make Galaxy successful in Macau, because we don't really look at the short-term benefits. When we're developing in Macau, we're almost always looking to the future, long term. Right? I think you will know how we actually faced the Galaxy development, such that basically we just evolve when the market evolves.
So Macau reopened to the world on the 8th of January. It's almost like starting again in some ways, having been closed for so long. What have you noticed about the demographics and the preferences of this new set of customers coming into Macau now? And how does Galaxy cater to those preferences?
That is going to be sort of like a demand for us would be higher end food outlets. We're also starting to feel that in the customers, not just wanting to eat your normal just Chinese cuisine. They probably is not looking for something more than that. You probably will see us and everybody else in town to be sort of like going to more creative, innovative F&B offering, and that would also be a lot of attraction, not just for the mainland customer. We felt that also for the foreigners. Because as you know, the Macau government is wanting to bring in more foreign customers in town, and I'm 100% fully supportive of that. And the way of doing it is to offer something which they couldn't see elsewhere. So I hope that some of the new development that we have in phase 3 and 4 would achieve that.
The integrated resort industry is a very labour-intensive one. We do have these magnificent pieces of hardware, billions of dollars in buildings, and they're absolutely beautiful, but they're nothing without people to work in them. We need that great software as well. And Macau's always had a challenge. It's only got a population of 650,000. So historically, overseas labour has come into Macau, both at the coalface, but also in terms of senior management and those skills as well. Many of those senior managers that were from overseas went back home to their home countries during the pandemic to be with their families and so forth. Now that we've opened up again and business is starting to boom in Macau, do you see that kind of talent coming back into Macau?
As you know, the COVID situation has caused some departure of senior executives back to their home country because they want to be with their family. I think we are fortunate that we emphasize on training and the internal promotion, such as local executive have a opportunity to be moving up the ladder. Right? We are holding their hands, we're training them, we're giving them opportunities, and we're glad to say that now we have more local executives now in the position to be taking up, senior, more demanding jobs for us. Right? So in general, I feel that some of these senior positions are now gradually being able to fill with local talent, which is something that we want to do as well, and we are doing so. Now, in terms of general labor, then I think it's almost like a worldly problem where everywhere, including Hong Kong, China, can you believe it? That everybody is short of skilled laborers. I think in Macau, especially when we're in the servicing industry, when we're in the hospitality business, we need to have young, passionate young people to be coming into the industry. This is where I think we are working hard with our human resources department to make sure that we offer opportunities, training, interesting job for the young local people to come and work for us.
The Macau government has recently placed a great deal of emphasis on getting so-called foreigners to come to Macau, people outside of Greater China, including the mainland, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. But historically, the MGTO director has told us that only 2.2% of visitation to Macau is so-called foreigners, and that the government wants to get that up to 10%, which is a really big increase. But there's always been this perception that Macau is just for Chinese, that it's not very welcoming for foreigners. What does Macau do to change that? And what's Galaxy doing to change that?
Thank you for the question. It's a question I like to, so it's $1 million question. Attracting foreigners is something that we have not been paying too much attention for the past 20 years' time, right? Because for the past 20 years, as you know, China economy just basically rocketed, right? And suddenly you have all these emerging middle-class people wanting to have experience, and they all want to come to Macau, sure. But looking into longer-term future, and I 100% agree with the vision that we should turn Macau to be more international, right? Under the one country, two system, Macau should play the role of actually is a window for the overseas investors or customers to come and enjoy and see what we have to offer. So 100% on that vision. The question is, what can we do to actually attract them to come over here? First of all, I don't think it's going to be the cost. It's not going to be the commission, because our tax rate and everything related to costs, right? We would not be able to compete with a country like, Vietnam or elsewhere, right? Cannot. So we would probably only competing with them by offering the best infrastructure, best transportation, easy to come in, friendly, one-stop. You have international activities, amenities, events, parties, food, and gaming experience, and the best hotels. So I think we have all these ingredients right now. It's a matter of how do we actually market our services, how do we actually draw the attention of the foreigners that, at the end of the day, Macau is still a place they want to come because we have the best of all. So to me, like you said, our director of tourism is now going overseas, doing all the marketing and promotion. And as you know, that all 6 of us is joining the effort to making sure that, the brand, the Macau brand that is, right, is now more known to the foreigners. Before, we used to offer a lot of Chinese food in town, is because, most of them are Chinese, right? But in order to have attract the foreigners, then you talk about, is the chicken first or the egg first, right? Now, we felt that we have to sort of make sure that we have the native language customer service team here to welcome our foreigners. We have to have the restaurant ready. We have to have all these things ready before, these people would come. So it's the chicken and the egg. The foreign market is going to come, but I don't think it's going to spike tomorrow. We have to do a lot of preparative work before we would be able to convince the foreigner that, Macau is certainly one of the destinations they cannot be missed.
The Macau government has made a really big deal about diversification, economic diversification away from the gaming industry, and Galaxy's made an enormous commitment to that. US $3.6 billion you've promised to spend over the next 10 years, 97% of which on non-gaming initiatives. Now, it didn't escape me that 10 years is 3,650 days, which just divides really nicely into 3.6 billion to come out to be basically US $1 million a day. That's quite a commitment.
I've continued to be telling my colleagues in here that we try to look into the one customer approach, where as far as we're concerned, we want to bring in a customer and then he will decide whether he wants to spend the money here or elsewhere. To me, normally, a family, the wife is going to go shopping and do beautification. The kids is probably end up in the wave pool, all right? And the man will do something else. So that's the kind of thing I was looking at, Andrew. But if you see the model in Singapore, if you see the model in Vegas, you probably see that, again, they are also moving in a direction where they will try to have amenities to be attracting a holistic approach. We are doing exactly the same too, right? So whether you should still divide up your customer into players and non-players, I think that in the future, to me, is a one customer.
Galaxy's made a big investment in the MICE industry, meetings, incentives, conferences and events. And you've built this new GICC, Galaxy International Convention Centre, which is a wonderful facility and a big commitment towards MICE. But there's always been a perception that Macau has infrastructure issues and it would be very hard for Macau to compete with large regional players like Singapore and Hong Kong and so forth. What are your thoughts on the future of MICE in Macau?
One is the infrastructure. You have to have the infrastructure where you would be able to bring in a lot of people in a very compressed time frame. So I think we probably will have to sort of think of a cooperation in here, where I don't think that Macau should be looking at, we want to dominate the market, or we would like to cannibalize the market where we take, a customer elsewhere from Hong Kong or Shenzhen or Guangzhou into Macau. But I feel that maybe we can cooperate with each other such that we would be able to share that customer and competing with the regional market. I'm saying this is because, for example, Hong Kong has the best airport in the world, right? Now, somehow I think that we could be able to utilize it much better than now. Number two is that Hong Kong has a lot of industry that we don't have in Macau, neither, like the financial industry. So I feel that the way to go forward in terms of getting more MICE business into Macau is not just try to sort of compete with each other, but more like how do we cooperate with each other? I do see that there's a lot of synergy between Hong Kong and Macau in doing the convention better. Honestly speaking, I don't think Macau in itself would be able to attract some of the industry to have the convention or exhibition in Macau alone. But if this is really a sort of multiple venue, maybe we could make that happen. People probably would be able to stay a few days in Hong Kong, right, for their part one, and then they will come to Macau for part two and finish off. We still have a lot to offer.
So Galaxy's recently proposed a high-tech amusement park. What exactly do you mean by a high-tech amusement park? And can you give us some more details?
If there's something that we're missing in Macau, probably would be a theme park. The question is, one way you can say 61,000 square meters of site is rare in Macau, right? There's not too many pieces of these huge pieces of land in Macau left anymore. But in terms of building a amusement park, then you could probably argue that 61,000 square meters maybe is a little bit too small, right? So the question is whether we could be able to use technology to be able to bridge it, such that even though it's not as big as your conventional amusement park, right? Hopefully through the use of technology, we would be able to make the experience a little bit more compact. So that is a challenge that we have at the moment, and we are using three words to be guiding us to go forward on here. One is cool, meaning it's technology; fun, meaning that it got to be entertaining, and green. So we want to do something which is closer to nature.
Galaxy has always supported sports. For many years, you've sponsored the volleyball, recently supported the international table tennis, and the government has made noises about wanting to boost sports tourism in Macau. What's your vision for sports tourism in Macau?
Galaxy has been involved in sponsorship of major sports events in Macau since day one. So we have been doing almost like over 20 years now. Is our commitment to give back to the society, because at that time, sport was not being well sponsored at the moment. Moving forward, I think sport probably is one of the things we felt could also continue to attract, our so-called one customers into Macau. Moving forward, we want to do both things. We'll continue to sort of attract international recognizable branded events to come to Macau, such that it would actually be able to promote Macau as a place not just for gambling but for diversified experiences as well. But at the same time, we are also trying to work with the local associations, such that we would be able to see whether we would be able to train up farm a little bit of a local talent in here, such that they would represent Macau to go out there and compete.
My last question is just a little bit out of the box. So some 21 years ago, we saw the liberalisation of the Macau gaming industry, and we had these 6 companies all starting pretty much on an equal footing. Arguably, maybe not SJM, because they had been the monopoly operator for 40 years, but Macau also changed a great deal at that time. So in a kind of a way, we had the starter's gun going off on the liberalisation of the industry and these 6 participants. Now here we are 21 years later, and there are 2 companies, Galaxy and Sands, that clearly have an oversized proportion of market share, and 4 companies that are much smaller. From a business point of view, I'm interested in that phenomenon. Why did that happen?
I like to say I don't really look into market share, that much, right? I think it's nice at the end of the day that we have a more significant part of the market share. But really, to me, is to making sure that how do you utilize the resources that you have in hand to make the best out of it, right? We are fortunate that we have this piece of land in here. So I think the whole thing set out that I have a vision to how to make use of this piece of land, to making sure that we would be able to cope with the market, the evolving market, such that the customer would like to come and be our customers, and this is where that's driving us to be successful, because we are anticipating, like I said before, when we are planning it at that time, we were asking ourselves already questions: what do the customer like, not today, but what would the customer looks like in 5 years, 10 years time, and how do we actually be able to cater for the need at the time? So you probably will see that the arena and hopefully and the convention center and the theme park is all coming out when the customer is now gradually moving from gaming focus into more diversified experience, and then we have the new product for it. I hope that you realize that it's all about the vision and the timing, and hopefully that within this one, we would be able to build the best property in town to be successful. And this way, I hope that we're doing the right thing because we have the right product and services.